Joining us now from Virginia Beach, Republican Senator Frank Wagner. He's an energy guru, and he's fired up about the new pipeline. Senator Wagner, good to have you in, man.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
Doing fabulous. Now,
Good.
I know that you are excited about the pipeline that is supposed to be coming through Southeast Virginia. You know, getting the entire Hampton Roads Delegation Center, as you know, to get behind anything, and I mean everybody from yourself to DeSteph to Louise Lucas, Jay Leftwich, Dawn Hester, to get everybody to sign a document saying I'm for the same thing is like herding cats. And I don't think that's ever been done in Hampton Roads, but you've got the entire General Assembly, Hampton Roads delegation behind the pipeline. Where are we on this?
Well, right now it's still up in the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, what they call FERC, who has the sole authority to issue the permit to build the pipeline. So they're still making a determination. I suspect we'll hear from FERC sometime in the next few months, and hopefully it'll be in favor of putting the pipeline in. The pipeline, and the reason you have such bipartisan support, I think all of us in the Hampton Roads area understand that gas pipeline is, transformational for our economy down here. But equally, because of the Clean Power Plan regulations that the EPA has put out, it's basically forcing the closure of coal plants all over Virginia as well as down in North Carolina. And with the closure of these coal plants, the only other readily available fuel source is going to be that natural gas. And so it's interesting that the folks that would oppose it, the quote-unquote environmentalists that oppose the pipeline, strongly support the Clean Power Plan. Well, without that natural gas, there's not going to be any generation because the coal plants will shut down and there won't be any gas to replace the fuel for generating the electricity. So regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on, if you want a cleaner environment, we're going to bring this natural gas in and allow us to generate electricity via gas as opposed to coal. And obviously natural gas, besides being a fuel, which we all associate it with, it's also a raw material that can be converted into many things that we use every day. So bringing that cheap source of natural gas, and I say cheap because coming down from the Marcellus and Utica shale plays up in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, bringing that cheap gas into our area down to deep water allows for a whole different economy that we never really pictured in our area in terms of having that natural gas converted into other products, loaded right on ships and sent overseas.
I mean, this makes so much sense. That's why you got such bipartisan backing for this across Hampton Roads. It means jobs. It means economic growth for our area because, look, you can't attract companies into Hampton Roads so that we can shift our economy from being dependent on defense if they don't have a source of energy. And what is so powerful about the pipeline is companies can relocate to the area along the pipeline and be able to tap right into the energy, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The pipeline, at least the extension into our region of the state, basically runs parallel to 58.
Right.
And with the parallel, and you have two rail lines and a large power line, you have all the essential ingredients for a whole manufacturing corridor down Route 58, basically from Hampton Roads all the way out to 85. So, the prospects to really be a transformational, as you said earlier, to our economy, but also really making our economy much stronger. The defense will currently is the primary driver, but always will be an important part of the Hampton Roads economy. But the ability to diversify our economy in this region obviously is going to make us a much stronger economy. And, I think that's absolutely essential, particularly given, some of the things we've seen, particularly out of this administration in Washington, in terms of their lack of support for the defense spending.
Okay, now, Senator Wagner, there is opposition to this. Like anything you try to get done, there's always going to be pockets of opposition. Define what the opposition is and what's the plan in order to get this done?
Well, I think, first of all, the media gives a lot of play to the opposition, giving the impression that this thing is, a 50-50 or, large parts of the state. basically it's the people along the route of the pipeline who have concerns, and I guess it's understandable that somebody's going to put a pipeline through your place, and it's going to be buried. There's a whole pipeline infrastructure throughout Virginia right now that really goes unnoticed every day, but it's a very, very large grid of pipelines, both oil and gas, that run through Virginia to the northeast, that run all over Virginia. The natural gas at your home today arrived through a pipeline. Mm-hmm. And so obviously there's an extensive grid of pipelines, and really it goes unnoticed every day. And so this is going to be one more pipeline that once installed will end up like the rest of them, basically unnoticed. The land that the pipeline comes under is still the owner's land. The only restrictions are putting a building on it or allowing trees to grow on it. Those are the only two restrictions for that pipeline, which is the current restrictions for all the rest of the pipelines. And I would venture to guess that most people couldn't even tell you where the pipelines are right now that run under Virginia, but I can assure you it's an extensive grid. It's interesting, if you ever pull out a map of it, you'll scratch your head and go, wow, right. I did not know how extensive that pipeline grid was. So, that's the situation, and obviously it's concerned. I think it'll be much ado about nothing, but I think primarily it's fueled by and outside environmental groups. Clearly it's been, stated in the media that the same groups that blocked the Keystone are now coming into the state and, whipping up sentiment and whipping up the scare tactics, all the things that those groups do to try to block a project that's absolutely critical. If you're actually going to replace a coal plant with a gas plant, in order to be able to do that, you have to have the gas in the region, and it currently is. There's insufficient gas to support electric generation and net conversion.
I've got a text question here from Mike in Virginia Beach who says,
Sure.
Senator Wagner, compensation seems to be the biggest rub. Can you define how that works? I guess compensation for the people that the pipeline would affect on their property. How does that work?
I understand there's a degree of compensation. Of course, anybody that has negotiated the deal always felt like they never got paid enough, and certainly that will be a small part of it. But I'm not aware of how much or what type of compensation there is. But I can certainly get into it, Mike, and give you an answer. But at this present time, I can't give you the exact specifics on it.
Senator, you're also a national delegate to the Cleveland Convention from the 2nd District. There is a movement underfoot, we understand, to try to change the rules and strip the nomination away from Donald Trump somehow. You're going to be there with me in Cleveland, obviously. We're comrade in arms for that to an extent. Do you see anything at all coming of this?
Well, no, I really didn't, John, and I hate to inform you, but I've had a couple of conflicts come up, and I'm going to have to turn it over to the first alternate. So I'm not going to be able to attend the convention, as I'm really disappointed about that. But I haven't. I've heard rumors of that. I haven't seen anything specific on it. So till I see something specific, I really can't comment on it. But unfortunately, I won't be making the trip with you, John. So we're not going to have that opportunity to chat.
Well, we're going to miss you in that. Who is the alternate? Do you know offhand?
There's 3 alternates, and I forget. I think it's up to our 2nd District chairman to select it, but I think it's the top vote getter, and I'm not quite sure who that name is.
Okay, we'll figure that one out. So, Senator, look, we have a potential convention in 2017. No one knows for sure if our statewide candidates on the Republican side are going to be chosen through a convention or a primary. We think it's going to be a convention, but you don't know because it's going to depend on who elected officers are on June 25th as a state central. I don't want to get into all the inside baseball, but in my mind, the Republican nomination for governor is wide open. Could we see a potential Wagner for governor candidacy in 2017?
Well, John, I certainly haven't decided. I haven't ruled it out. It's one of those things I've certainly considered. I think the years of service I've had and the experience of understanding what goes on in state government is a very, very important role. We have a lot of things moving forward in Virginia, a lot of things from this administration that's currently in Richmond that needs to be altered. And obviously I'm very, very close to the pulse. Being on the finance committee, I understand the budget, I understand the process. Lifelong Virginian, went to grew up in Northern Virginia, went to the Naval Academy, and have been in Hampton Roads basically the entire time, except for 2 years the Navy sent me out to Long Beach, California. So I love Virginia. I've been all throughout Virginia, virtually every corner of the Virginia. There's the potential in this state is, in my mind, untapped, and we certainly have a potential to be transformational here in Virginia and really propel Virginia, and I think, into the leadership role. And it's unfortunate that we've seen Virginia drop from number 1, 2, 3 in the state in terms of job creation, in terms of best place to do business in, all of those accolades, where we're now 49th or 50th in job creation. This is unsatisfactory. These messages got to turn, and we have an opportunity, I think, to at best, I'd give us a D on transportation. Transportation is one of those core functions of state government. Only state government can do it. The feds are not going to get involved. Localities don't have the resources to do it. At best, I'll give us a D, particularly here in Hampton Roads and up in Northern Virginia.
Right.
I've done a lot over the last 3 or 4 years to fix that, and you're starting to see a lot of those projects moving forward. I think we can do a lot better, and I think we have to do a lot better if we're really going to be transform this economy and do the kind of job creation that we talked about so much. I think every politician says jobs, jobs, jobs. Well, you got to take care of your core responsibilities of education and transportation at the state level if you expect to see those jobs created within Virginia. And there's just so much, John, that needs to be worked on. I feel I'm in a position to start and roll, but again, I haven't decided. I'm sitting on there. I obviously have a lot of work to do in the Senate, and I spend probably easily being a part-time job every week on that issues, and I'll be out of here today to go up to Wallops Island to be with the House Appropriations Committee on some extremely exciting things going on at Wallops Island, extremely exciting potential for job creation and moving forward in the area of unmanned systems that I think will put this state in a leadership role in unmanned systems, particularly unmanned aircraft in Wallops, and many exciting things going on there that need to be tied into the Hampton Roads region. Obviously, Northern Virginia has a big play in there. So there's so many things, but I live and breathe it virtually every day, and sometimes get frustrated in the legislative role of what the potential could be in Virginia, and the fact that the executive branch isn't, in my mind, realizing the full potential of Virginia, not just here, but you look at what's going on in Southwest Virginia and around the state. There's areas that we really, really need to put a big push in and realize really the full potential for all Virginians.
Well, you would definitely be the energy candidate. There's no question about that, Senator, and that's going to be on a lot of people's minds. Also, whoever the nominee is for the Republicans, you're going to have to go up against Ralph Northam, who's got a very powerful geographical base in Hampton Roads. I don't think a Republican can win without somebody from Hampton Roads on the ticket, and I think it would be a natural candidate for that. Do you think it's going to be a primary or a convention? What do you think?
I really don't know the makeup. I know there's been a lot of electoral change, or if you will, of who participates in State Central. My understanding is they'll meet in July and August, and one of the things I understand that will be on the agenda is reviewing the method of nomination. I think most of the candidates I've talked to would prefer a primary, and for the life of me, I can't understand why anyone would be afraid of putting themselves forward to the voters of Virginia and give them that opportunity to select the candidate they want to choose, as opposed to a small group that has the time, has the inkling, and has a Saturday off to go take care, to go to a specific location somewhere in the Commonwealth of Virginia and select a candidate that the elite group that has the time to do this picks a candidate. I think that's wrong. I think every Virginian ought to have that opportunity, or at least every Republican in Virginia ought to have that opportunity to participate in selecting the candidate for these statewide positions. And the way to do that is a primary. I don't know. I believe the strongest candidate will emerge from a primary situation, and I believe there's an opportunity for all Virginians to engage. Remember, there's a lot of folks reserve military, National Guard, nurses, doctors, people who have to work on Saturdays don't have the time, family people taking care of their elderly parents. I mean, I could go on and on and on about the people who just don't have the time to take off on a Saturday that we've excluded from the process of selecting a candidate.
Well,
I personally think that's wrong.
If it's 2017, it isn't going to be all day. It's going to be 2 days because you'll never get through all these candidates in one day. So you'll have to take the weekend off. We're out of time, but I got a quick question here. I need a yes or no answer from Corey in Southwest Virginia. Says, would you compete in a convention?
In a convention, I'd have to give it some soul searching. Again, the question is, in a convention, it's an interesting, compilation of who. I understand there's 4 candidates or 3 candidates right now seeking the governor's nomination. So in a convention, if I decide to run, it'll be regardless of the method of nomination. But certainly, convention puts up another set of challenges, a different approach to running for office where, in fact, you're rounding up delegates. You're not discussing the important issues in front of Virginians and allowing those people to say that those positions align more with what I do. When you start to line up a convention, it's not about your positions. It's about how many delegates I can round up that will support me to come to a particular location. Now, as you said, John, now for a weekend.
Oh, yeah, it's
give
a
up a weekend, have the resources to stay in a hotel and doing that thing.
All right, we're out of time.
I want to nothing to do with the issues.
I want to thank Senator Frank Wagner for being with us. Wagner sounding very much like a candidate for governor, as I predicted a long time ago. Hey, I'll be right back. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network.